joining us for our word of the day. This morning, as we're continuing through the Bible, we're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 15. In this chapter, Paul, of course, he's been combating the whole letter, kind of the division that has come up in the church over theological issues, over personality issues, over sexual sin. And in chapter 15, he starts kind of explaining how he got where he was. Because Paul was highly revered in the early church. I mean, the church is there because the Apostle Paul followed the will of God and started the church. He's gotten the gospel to pretty much the entire known world with the help of his assistants. And so Paul's a very well-known believer. And here's what he says in verse 10. He says, "But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace toward me was not in vain. I labored more abundantly than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God which was in me." So Paul begins by saying, I am who I am. I am as successful as I am. I have achieved what I have achieved through God's grace on my life. And he kind of goes a little further. He goes, I labored harder than everybody else, but it wasn't me that was laboring. It was God's grace in me. What Paul is telling us is that we can achieve anything for God's kingdom and God's glory if we rely on God's grace. God's grace on our life is what helps us have a healthy marriage. It's what helps us have a good family, what helps us have strong relationships and a good testimony in the workplace, in our neighborhood. And God's grace is our greatest need in this world. Every day we have to get up and throw ourselves in the grace of God to allow God's grace to give us wisdom, to give us guidance, to give us strength to get through the trials we're facing, to conquer any obstacles we may come up against, to do what He needs us to do for His kingdom. So we can look at other people in Christian culture and think, man, they're more talented, they're more successful, they're more influential than I am, and they're doing more than I am, or even in our life and say, man, how come they have so much success and I seem to be struggling? Well, what Paul's telling us is don't judge yourself based on other people. Judge yourself based on the grace of God. Say, God, I need your grace today. I need you to help me to be content with what you've given me. I need you to give me wisdom to see what I need to do for your glory and your kingdom. I need you to help me with these situations. God, I need your grace. Paul is known as the greatest New Testament Christian only because of the grace of God in his life. Thanks so much for joining us for the Word of the Day. Be sure to be back here tomorrow as we continue through the Bible. Have a blessed day.